hello, internet friends near and far. Welcome to another episode of Parks and Conversation. And this is a podcast where we talk about an episode of Parks and Recreation. And then that's it, really. I mean, that's the whole thing. So I'm Jason, and I'm joined by my friend Jeremy. Say hello, Jeremy.
Hey, how is it going?
Good. I kind of ran out of steam there.
Yeah, you pulled a Michael Scott. You just started a sentence with no real end game there in mind.
No, I was just kind of hoping that it would land somehow. And
and here we are.
Landing you can walk away from is a good landing. I learned that from Launchpad McQuack on DuckTales.
Woohoo!
Yeah. Listener, I need to ask your forgiveness and your grace. My neighbor, who I have not seen really regularly for 4 years because he lives someplace else, but he still owns this house. He has decided that he wants to come and do yard work with a wood chipper. And so he will be in his yard. So if you hear some of that, sorry about that. But also my dogs, they might bark. So please forgive us. And also, Jeremy, would you please extend your grace?
From way over here, I will.
All right. Okay, cool.
You're good. You're good.
All right. Well, let's talk about Parks and Conversation.
Mm-hmm.
And we are in season 6, and we are in a mystery zone of numbering. Because the first episode that we covered in this season was a longer episode, and it gets divided up into parts 1 and 2. If it were in some kind of syndication situation. And so this episode is technically the second episode of the season, but it's also the third episode of the season.
Mm-hmm.
So what are we going to do?
Yeah, it's the second episode of our season.
Second episode of our season, but it's like really the third episode.
On IMDb, season 6, episode 3. The
IMDb is doing that?
Tip-off classic, yep.
Perfect, then. We'll go with IMDb. They're never wrong about anything.
Okay. So we're just going to skip. So for us, episode 2 is just gone. It just doesn't exist.
Yeah. And people will wonder, like, hey, whatever happened to episode 2? And then people will say to those people, why are you talking to me? This is a Wendy's. So maybe not.
Yeah. Get a Frosty for me.
Oh my goodness.
Did you try the strawberry Frosty when it was out?
Never. A Frosty is only chocolate.
It was really good.
Okay. Well, that's a strawberry milkshake with a spoon. A Frosty is only chocolate. Okay.
How about the vanilla Frosty?
See previous comments.
See above. French fries in the Frosty.
Yes, for it.
Absolutely. For dipping. I mean, not like blended in. That'd be
the chocolate,
ridiculous.
Yeah, a chocolate Frosty, which I mean, just a Frosty with a French fry, delicious. The first place I learned about this trick was actually not Wendy's. It was my junior high. They served milkshakes in junior high. At the junior high I went to. Yeah. I grew up in
Go America.
And they would have
was Kirkland 5th in obesity?
Yes, 4th in friendship. But they had chocolate milkshakes and French fries there, and my friend Dan would do that at lunch. And I was like, where did you learn this? He said, my brother did it. And I was like, where did he learn it? Wendy. I was like, is Wendy his girlfriend? He's like, no, down the street, dummy. Oh yeah, that Wendy's. So yeah, it's a good move. It's a classic. It's a classic.
It's right up there with the Red Vine and the Dr. Pepper.
Right. Yeah, the perfect straw until it gets too soggy and the bottom melts into the Dr. Pepper and then it falls in, and you're like, do I drink the rest of this now?
Yeah, and then you do that move where you're just trying to like fish it out like upside down, and then that little bit drips. Yeah, it's great. It's all part of the experience. And then you cut your tongue.
Wow,
you're really going for it.
I mean, yeah. Throw some peanut butter in there. Be like a dog. Like, I gotta get this. So, yeah.
All right,
well, Jeremy. Today we're talking about season 6, episode 3, the Pawnee Eagleton Classic Tip-Off Classic, whichever. These are small towns in Indiana. Basketball is the greatest thing that's ever happened to small towns in Indiana. And these two small towns, they hate each other. So this is a great rivalry that goes back generations. And Jeremy, you're from a small town.
I am not. I lived in a small town for 3 full years, and yet everyone assumes that's where I came from.
Yeah, you've got small town stink on you. No.
Yeah. Wow.
But you played basketball.
I can hear the lambs. Yeah, I did. I played basketball, and it was a big deal. Not as big as football. I would say Washington is much more of a football state. Basketball is a big deal, but football is, I think, still bigger, especially in the small towns. Football kind of reigns supreme down around here.
All right. Well, so in the small town you grew up in,
yeah, in the mighty small town of Tacoma.
I mean, that's just
this is a suburb of Onalaska,
a suburb of Greater Linwood. Did you guys have a rival in Onalaska?
No, we were too bad to have rivals.
Oh, really?
We were not, at least when I was there for the 3 years that I lived there. Just to remind everyone, we didn't really have a rivalry. We were just too bad. It just didn't matter. How about, did Kirkland have rivals? The Purple Kangaroos?
Yeah, Purple and White fight. Like Washington High School, Purple Kangaroos. Our crosstown rival was the Juanita Rebels. Oh. And so we hated them. Just recently, the Rebels changed their name. And I don't remember what it is, but I'm going to look it up. Because I don't know if you know this, but Juanita was not a part of the Southern battles. They didn't have a great stake in the Northern War of Aggression. And so calling their school the Rebels in 2022 was probably not the most helpful thing for them. So, the Bellevue Reporter, Juanita High School Rebels mascot finally defeated. Just tell me what it is. I don't. The internet. Just tell me the new thing. There's a bird in one of these pictures.
Maybe they're the Ravens.
Are they?
I don't know. I'm just going to say that because I saw a picture of it on the internet. Welcome to Parks and Recreation, where we search the internet for high school mascots.
Yeah. Well, it's important. And so they changed their name, and
you're going for it.
I'm really trying to read this article.
It's a raven. It's a raven.
Yeah, there it is. Okay. I don't know why the Bellevue Reporter is not. I mean, this is as bad as the Pawnee Sun. So we would have this kind of rivalry with them, but we were all very bad at sports too. I mean, the really good team in our region when I was in high school, Redmond and Inglemore, those were the good teams. But yeah. Anyway, so here they're going to have this basketball thing, and there's a few plot lines that we can follow. The main thing is with this town rivalry kicking off between Pawnee and Eagleton, going deeper into Eagleton's financial woes. Another plot line is Ron trying to get off the grid, and then the third plot line is April and Anne going to Bloomington to investigate a veterinary school that April was accepted to, and so whether or not April wants to go, there's a whole orientation and a whole thing, and so each plot line is fairly independent of one another. So what do you think? We just kind of hit the smaller ones and then come back to the main one.
That's a great idea.
All right. Well, then I'm going to leave it up to you. Which one do you want to talk about first? Do you want to talk about Ron getting off the grid, or April and Anne going to Bloomington?
I'm gonna go with my gut, and I'm gonna say let's go with Anne and April.
Okay, perfect. They're gonna go to Bloomington to investigate a veterinary school that Anne helps April get into. And so Anne is going along with April on this orientation, and you can tell right away that it's going to go great because when they are getting in the car and Anne is driving, April asks Anne, "Are you going to sit there?" And yeah, so April's really into this. And so she's like, you can sit in the trunk. Um, and yeah, so Anne is talks about how she's going to go, but also because she's happy to go to Bloomington because they have a baby store where she's going to pick up an organic baby blanket.
Bloomington
And
just sounds like a baby store.
it does, now that you mention it. Bloomington. Yeah, I could totally see. Like, I could see like
maybe it's the Bloomingdale's kind of tie. It just sounds like
probably.
Bloomington. Yeah, probably. Anyway.
Yeah. So Anne is excited to go to this place because, as she says, Pawnee's only baby store is attached to a chemical refinery. So it's probably not good for little ones. And so she's got a road trip mix, everything. A lot of Tori Amos. Jeremy, what's your favorite Tori Amos song?
Oh man, it's just so hard to choose.
Yeah.
I kind of celebrate the whole catalog.
Good.
How about you?
Well, when I think about Tori Amos, the cool thing about Tori Amos is she was born in 1963 on August 22nd. She's 5'2", so she's not very tall.
Wow.
And I'm going to go with the first song that comes to mind. It's called Cornflake Girl because it's the first song on this list when I looked her up. So I don't know any of her songs. I don't know if you could tell. But the other cool thing about her is she's married to Mark Hawley. And
oh yeah.
And her genres of music are electronic dance music and pop. So that's cool. Yeah. So they're going to listen to Tori Amos. It doesn't sound like a good time for me. They get to Bloomington, and we are relieved of not having to listen to any Tori Amos on this whole road trip. So that worked out for everybody. And as they are getting started, Anne asks her, do you have everything you need for this orientation? And all the things April packed are super important for orientation materials. She has an empty Sprite can, an old man's fingernail, and a picture of Patrick Ewing on a roller coaster. So she's good to go.
As you should.
Listener, if you are not old. Oh, something's happening. Is that me? That's you.
That's me. This Cornflake Girl.
Okay. I was freaking out here because I was like, where's this sound coming from? All right.
Yeah, Tori Amos.
Yeah.
I can't play too much, else we got to pay for it.
Yeah, I don't like that. I don't like that music at all. What I was going to say before Tori Amos butted into our podcast is Patrick Ewing was a basketball player for the New York Knickerbockers. Mm-hmm. And he is a very tall person. And whoa, you all right?
Yeah, I'm okay. I was just kind of trying to put Tori Amos away.
Okay. All right. And so, Jeremy, you're also a tall person.
Yeah.
When you think about roller coasters, does that sound like something that you would enjoy because of your height, or something that you would not enjoy?
The first thing that comes to mind is decapitation for sure. Any tunnels, low hanging crossbars, things like that. I can't. It's too close.
Okay.
How about you? I'm not a big roller coaster fan.
I love roller coasters, but I also will look at the track before I get on board.
Mm-hmm.
I'll look and see, how nervous am I going to be? Now, I'm not as tall as you. I mean, you're a giant. And I'm a good 4 inches shorter than you. So, yeah, it's this idea of Patrick Ewing on a roller coaster. I was thinking, why would April want this? And part of it is because of the danger involved, because April is obsessed with death. And so I wonder if that's why she's like, man, just thinking about him, this 7 foot tall dude on a roller coaster, he's in danger right now. Anyway, that is that. So Anne and April go to talk to Laura, who's the orientation person. And April introduces herself as April Ludgate Kevorkian. So she's going to be really on board with everything that's happening. And Anne leaves her there to go to the baby store. And so we cut to the moments pass by, and Anne is at the baby store, and she points out that this place has everything: video monitors, lead-free pacifiers. She found bibs that don't have Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s face on them, and that's the first time she's ever seen that. And the worker is just amazed that this is her reality. But then, as she's ringing up, she sees April walking by, eating what looks like frozen yogurt. Uh, and so Anne runs out, is like, "Why aren't you out there?" And April's like, "I was there, but it was lame, so I left." And then I kept walking, and now I'm here. So,
Humans love frozen yogurt.
yeah, it's like something like ice cream, but just not as good. So we were watching that as our family a few nights ago, and Michael is sad at one point, and he got no flavor frozen yogurt.
Yeah, no flavor.
Because that's all I deserve.
Oh, that's funny. Which one of our characters is in? So let's keep going. Yeah, good place.
Yeah. So Anne takes April back to orientation, but only if Anne will go along with the game that April wants to play. And so she has Anne introduce herself as April's 65-year-old grandmother.
Me, ma.
Yeah. So Anne says, like, it seems like a real hip kind of college town. And April is like, "Meemaw, nobody uses the word hip anymore." And so then she gets to talk to her about how old her grandmother is. And she asks, like, "How are your local graveyards? I have some planning to do." And April really sells it because she then like nods over and at Anne, like, "This lady's gonna die soon." So I have some planning to do. Then they continue the tour a little bit, and they're talking about the different trails, and the blind trail is nice. And April yells in Anne's ears, "She said the blind is cool, Meemaw. Cool means good." So that sounds like a fun game for everybody. But here we learn that April doesn't want to go here at all. She's not going to go to school here, and she's ready to leave. And Anne's like, this place has got culture, tons of youngsters. And then Anne realizes, maybe I am 65 years old. And so, yeah, so April doesn't want to go, and they start driving back. And Anne's like, what happened back there? And April's like, "What, when I stole your phone and texted every guy that told them that your baby was theirs?" It's like, no. Like Anne's
It's
like,
not that big a deal.
Yeah, "I care about your future. I want you to I wanted to help you with this. I want you to do this." And so why aren't you following through? And April is like, "I was on the fence about whether or not I want to do it, and then I'm just following my gut and I don't want to do it." And so Anne's like, "Well, how do you get your gut to talk to you?" And Anne's like, April just says, you don't get it to talk to you. Just listen when it says something and you go with it. That's April's whole move. Is, with her life, is whether or not to marry Andy. All these different decisions have been following her gut. And I love in line. He has this line here. It says, "My gut was right about marrying Andy. It was right when it told me that you would be the worst person I ever met in my life. And I met Guy Fieri. So gross." So
maybe that's where all the internet hate came from Guy Fieri.
I know. And I don't know why.
April Ludgate.
People have come back around on Guy Fieri now because he's like a legit, like, good boss, and he cares about his people. And people are like, "Yeah, Guy Fieri's pretty rad." So he's the mayor of Flavortown, and he runs unopposed. So it's got to be something good.
I guess. I'm still for term limits, but
Well, yeah. I mean, there's just good governance. But yeah, so he is yeah. So this gets Anne thinking about what does it mean to follow your gut. And they get back to the office, and um the she's talking to Chris, and Chris is like, "Hey, how was your trip?" And Anne's like, "They got all the stuff we needed, and they had a really cool town." And she's listing all these great things um about Bloomington, and then she has what appears to be a feeling of some sort. And Chris is like, "Oh, are you having a contraction?" Um, and like, "No, I'm 3 months pregnant. But what if we raised our child somewhere other than Pawnee?"
Oh man.
What? So this creates a little foreshadowing for the future of Chris and Anne as we see their journey as people. So yeah, so that's the first line, and yeah, that one really kind of felt like here's some people just doing some things. Wasn't super
Yeah.
funny.
It was more setup and also ending, like her, like um April's kind of trajectory to be a vet. With
Right.
Andy, maybe with Andy out of the picture or something like that, they go in a different direction for a while, and then also with Anne and Chris leaving the show eventually. Yeah, just kind of setting that up now. So
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they don't want you to be surprised when Chris shows up on 911 Dallas or whatever he went to after this.
the ice storm is coming. Oh my gosh. Sorry, that was an actual preview for 911 Austin, or yeah, like you said.
I remember that preview because it was on like all the time during NFL games.
Yeah, it was. And he just stands. He's in a cabin somewhere out in the middle of, I don't know, Paris, Texas, and he opens the door, and it's just winter hellscape.
Yeah.
Next
And,
on
and the preview went on for multiple weeks. This is
yes,
a weekly show, right? And I know it went on for multiple weeks because I watched many football games, and this preview was still happening. I was like, what is going on with this program? But
yeah,
I didn't watch it, so someone else is gonna have to podcast that.
not it.
Oh, dang it! I guess I'm gonna have to. Guess I'm gonna have to do that now.
Got him.
All right, so let's follow
What's
the
our
Ron
the
line
Ron?
then.
Yeah, I like
All
it.
right, because this one's great.
Mhm.
Because Ron comes into the office in a huff, and he asks, "Who or what is Penny Saver?" And it is around our region, we would call it the Little Nickel. It's
Little
that
nickel.
kind of a paper. It's just small little places where people can do ads, classifieds, those kinds of things.
In Eagleton, it's called the medium doubloon.
Yes, exactly. And so Tom says it's a circular with coupons and stuff, and Ron is furious because it was sent to Ron Swanson at Diane's address where he's lived for less than a month. And so he recognizes this is a huge invasion of privacy, that they know where I live, and points out that his family has had a single PO box for several generations, and we only ever subscribe to two magazines, Reader's Digest and Ebony. And Ebony is a magazine with largely an African American reader base. And so Ron is like, it ended up for an interesting year of reading. So I do love, though, that they didn't like stop it. And they're like, well, it's coming to us and we're not going to pay the renewal, but we'll read it. So
You know what? That would be kind of a fun magazine subscription, actually. Like if you like. I mean, there's a lot of magazines out there, but what if you had a magazine subscription that just sent you a random magazine every month? Like a magazine, like 2 or 3 of them. I love magazines. I don't get them anymore, but they're great. They're digestible. Magazines are so much fun. But like if you just got a random one that you would never get, I don't know.
Yeah.
I might sign up for that.
My advisor for my for school, he would travel all the time, and he liked to create a randomization process in his life. So like going to the movies, for years he would just say, go to the movie theater and say, one ticket for the next movie. So whatever is playing next, that's what he's watching. And so,
Wow.
yeah, so he would do that. And he saw a lot of movies, terrible movies, multiple times because that's just how it happened. But when he went to the airport, he would go and grab a different magazine for every flight. And so it made it weird when he would have like, he's like, well, it's guns and ammo time. We're on the plane. I don't know why they sell guns and ammo on at airports. Like this is just not a good look, guys. So, yeah. So,
Sorry,
yeah.
sir.
So,
You can't take that on the plane.
yeah. You got to check your guns and ammo.
You gotta check your guns and ammo magazine.
Yeah. But Jeremy, report back. Let us know how your randomization experiment happens, and if you can find a.
Well, I'm not gonna. Yeah, I think I'm just gonna go to like dentists and doctors' offices and just steal a stack of magazines and see what I get and read them.
That is
And
a
then,
definite good plan.
and then return them because stealing is bad.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay.
100% agree. Stealing is bad. So Ron wants to stop this, and so Tom's like, "Oh, Donna's good at this. She got me off the Williams and Sonoma mailing list, but then I signed back up. I'm hooked on their oven mitts. I need my mitts on those mitts." So then Ron's like, "Well, let me know when Donna returns," and so Tom looks up to see her Twitter feed, and she's also live streaming her walk back to the office from coffee. And so they are all about the online life. Twitter, Ustream, Snapchat, it's all happening. And Ron is completely perplexed by
And
all
Donna,
of this.
and I think Donna was using one of the 8 Windows phones ever created.
Yes. They had at one point some kind of partnership with Windows Phone. So, yeah, it's really, really great stuff. The Windows Phone available at Goodwills near you.
Right next to the Zune.
Yeah. I do love that in Guardians of the Galaxy 2, he's given a Zune. I love that. So good. So the Ron is having a meeting with Donna and Tom saying, I got to get completely off the grid. And they're both like, why would you do that? I love the grid. and Tom is like, if you off the grid, how are you going to post photos of the dope food at restaurants you're at and all the cool places you're stunting in? And Ron is just like,
asking the real questions.
Food is for eating. Places are for being. End of discussion. And so they're like, no, don't leave, Ron. And he's like, if you help me get off the grid, I'll let you go home early. They immediately shift to no grid. So they're in with Ron getting off the grid. And so they are going to do this project. Ron confronts his mailman and says, if you see any catalog with my name on it, I want you to drive into the woods and bury it. And the mailman's just like, I don't decide who gets mail, sir. And Ron's like, just passing the buck.
Get out.
Yeah. So they got rid of Ron's cell phone and his last credit cards. And they're going to cut up his parking garage access card. And Ron's like, I'm just going to take the bus. I'm going to pay in cash. And they're like, what else shows any record of me? And then Tom remembers there's a photo of you at JJ's Diner from when you ate all. And then Ron's just like, let's go. And so they run to JJ's Diner and cut to the diner. And Ron is explaining the situation. He began eating eggs. They were delicious, so I ordered more. Before long, I believe I had eaten, and JJ says, 51 eggs in 20 minutes. Couldn't cook them fast enough. The last 10 were still in the shell. So gross. So this is a JJ's Diner record, and they took his picture, and Ron's like, I got to have that picture back. And Jay's like, how would anybody know it's you? And they go to the wall, and it says, it's a picture of Ron, and it just says man underneath. And I was like, this is too much information. So he takes it, and then he starts leaving. And Tom's like, where are you going to go? He's like, I've eaten a lot of food in a lot of restaurants. Why is everyone else so bad at eating?
Now, did you notice there's a lot of other records on that board? Like most hamburgers eaten, most coffee drank, most hash browns. my question is, if you were for a restaurant themed record, what would what would you want your record to be? Like if you could go for a restaurant record, any kind of food, any kind
Mhm.
of record, but
Yeah. Well, I've been thinking a lot about this, Jeremy.
yeah.
Um, and I think what I would do, I would want to go for consistency. Like, because I don't get bored of my favorite foods. So I could eat pizza and teriyaki every day.
Yeah, agreed.
Like, I don't think I would ever get tired of it. And if I lived close enough to my favorite teriyaki place of all time, Yummy Teriyaki in Redmond, Washington, I think I would probably go there like all the time. And so I would want to set a most consecutive days eating at this restaurant, because then I could just keep building on that, you know?
Just never stop.
Yeah. And then when I die, they would say, we have to close. This guy was keeping us open.
This was my kid's college fund.
And now he's dead because he ate too much spicy chicken teriyaki. But that would probably be
I was going to say
go for.
Side question. Yeah, that's what you get, spicy teriyaki.
Oh, yeah. And I got food poisoning there one time, and I went back like a week later.
Well, yeah, because you're immune at that point. Like,
yeah,
nothing can hurt.
I survived your food. What are you going to do?
It only made me stronger.
Yeah.
Double the portion, please.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like when Jack in the Box had the E. coli scare in the 90s. It was like it was the safest place to eat after that.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Because, I mean, their quality assurance at that point was through the roof. So why not eat a Jack in the Box?
You order it. I mean, that was their whole thing. Like, that sounds like a good plan. I'm going to order some now. So there used to be a Jack in the Box down the street from our house. And that was a dangerous situation because Jack in the Box is awesome. But it's also a dangerous situation because an old lady drove into the building one time. And and then it closed, and that place is still a restaurant, but for like 15 years.
But now it's a drive-through.
No, it does not have a drive-through at all. It's an Indian restaurant now, but for 15 years, it was constantly turning over to different owners and different styles of food, and they finally landed on Indian food, and it's been an Indian food restaurant for about 10 years now. But it was crazy to just see like all the things happening in the little Jack in the Box that couldn't. So
like those old Taco Time restaurants that it seemed to be like every single thing. Like you're like, oh, I recognize that. That's a Taco Time or a Pizza Hut. Like that's an old Pizza Hut.
Oh man, I miss Pizza Hut. Like going in and eating inside a Pizza Hut. That was the best. The red Coke cup.
Mm-hmm.
Those Pizza Hut commercials with Daryl from The Office, those nail it.
Yeah.
Like he turned his basement into an old Pizza Hut. It's like, yes, that was everybody's dream. That was awesome.
I just want that dessert pizza. Or was that Godfather's?
That was Godfather's.
Yeah.
I'll forgive you though.
Good times.
That was so good. I'm pretty sure I can trace all of my weight problems back to the summertime walking to Godfather's from my house walking to Totem Lake from my house, my parents' house, to get the lunch buffet, and knowing that lunch buffet was really just an entree into all you can eat dessert pizza. And I pushed the limit on that all you can eat. So
hey, it's a challenge.
It's a challenge. So what about you? We were talking about my favorite food. Like what record would I want? What would you go with?
Most tiny creamers drank, probably.
Oh.
Just seems like a easy one to go for.
Oh, I don't like that. I don't like that at all.
I mean, it's not real dairy, so it's okay.
That's not my problem.
And you can just stack them. Like you open them, you drink it, you stack it. Stack. And you have this.
Are you still doing this as an adult man?
No. I was just saying like that's what I've never really ever done it, but I'm just saying like that would be one. I don't think a lot of people do that, but it would be fun to try to to own the record of it, because I don't think a lot of people would go for it. You know what I mean?
I do.
Like it's funny to drink. It's funny to drink one, and then like
Is
hey, sure.
Is it funny or sad?
Or any food records not sad.
I don't know. The guys at the pho place down the street from us, they have a giant bowl of pho that you can get on the wall for. You, like, eat the whole thing in like 20 minutes or something. Um,
Right.
the guy who did it looks pretty happy about it.
I would be too.
Oh man, your eyeballs would be floating in sodium. Oh, so gross. Oh, so much. Oh. The Since we're at JJ still, talking about food
Yeah.
records, you go to a breakfast
Mhm.
place like Denny's, your Sherry's, whatever,
Right.
IHOP, and you get toast. Now, on the table, they have those little rectangles of jam or preserves.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about? And they're in the
Oh,
little
yeah.
the jam caddy. Uh,
Right.
now, I'm positive I can't be the only one who would take as many as I could and put them in my pocket throughout the meal with my family growing up, so that later I could eat jelly shots in the van ride home. Am I the only one?
Well, on this podcast you are, because I had never considered that.
They're free.
Wow.
They're at the table. I mean, that, like, you're paying for the
Yeah.
whole experience.
No, I get you. I'm just, my whole thing was like, can I use one of those rectangles of jelly on one half of my toast, like on one, when you cut it a piece of
Yeah.
bread in half. Yeah, I was like, I
On a
would
triangle,
get
right?
a triangle. Yeah, one full jelly thing on a triangle, and I'd eat each of the jelly flavors. There was like orange marmalade, grape, like strawberry, and like mixed berry.
Mhm.
Right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's correct.
And you just took them all.
I couldn't take them all. I mean, I was like 8 years old. I didn't have that big of pockets. I didn't want my parents to get suspicious. And then, like, in the back of the van, I'd like reach back behind to like pull the recliner piece on the van like all the way down to the bottom and like lean back, and then just sit there.
They'll never see me.
I'm running stealth mode right now, and I'm just eating jelly like a crazy person back there. So,
what's that slurping sound?
I gotta blow my nose.
God. Oh,
yeah, those were so good. Oh man,
wow! And I'm the weirdo for wanting to drink the creamer record. Wow.
Yeah, somewhere someone taught me that I could do that, and I want to say it was my brother, but I can't know for sure.
Yeah.
So
there's no way to know.
Ask him.
Nah.
My brother and I only really communicate in memes anymore. So. All right, so back to Ron. He has gone through and recovered all the public photos of him. His nameplate is removed from the office. He's taken the pediatrician files and destroyed those. And then Tom's like, "Hey, great news! John Ralphio loves your shirt." And Ron's like, "What are you talking about? I've been taking pictures of you and posting them to my Facebook. Ron Swan getting off the grid." And Ron's like, "Do you see what you've done here?"
I do now.
Yeah. And so Tom takes Ron's tablet and starts speaking to it. Erase. And then at one point, he takes his sleeve like he's wiping off a chalkboard. He's like, erase all, like he's trying to like get it off. And then he speaks into it, erase all pictures of Ron. And then it repeats because he accidentally opened Vine, which I miss Vine. And it started looping, and Ron's like, "What is happening? What is happening?" And that Tom's like, "You just vined your first selfie, Ron, and now I'm vining you. Vine your first selfie." And it's a doom loop of vining. And so Ron is furious. He leaves. Tom and Donna start remixing it to also go along, saying erase all pictures of Ron, as Ron is saying that on the iPad. It's a brilliant moment. So he's not doing well with his project. But he runs away. The next time we see Ron, he is buying a recreational vehicle, and he doesn't understand why if he wants to give a certain amount of gold in exchange for a vehicle, this person won't get it. And the salesperson is like, "I still need an address for insurance purposes." And Ron points at the thing and is like, "This will be my new home. The address is wherever it is parked."
There's no fault in that logic.
Yeah, it all makes sense. It's all perfect. So Ron is there trying to do this, and Diane shows up and is like, "Where have you been? I've had a flat tire. I couldn't get a hold of you." And Ron is like, "I've been destroying most of my personal effects and threatening a postal worker." So Diane's like, "Look, you I know you value privacy, but you can't just disappear. You're a husband and a father, and we need to be able to find you. And like, you can try to get off the grid, but you need to be on our grid. And so Diane and Ron have to come to some kind of a conclusion here. And so what they do is they get Ron a cell phone, and it's an old phone. Donna thinks it's the original phone from Wall Street. Tom thinks it's the original phone, period. Um, and it has buttons. It's gross. And so Diane and the girls are there, and they say, "Look, girls, you and I are the only ones who have this number. If you need Ron for any reason, just call, and he'll be there." And Ron's like, "Yep, and I'll keep the phone right here on a belt clip." So classic dad move. And yeah, so he's going to be on the grid, available for the girls and for Diane, and that is it. And this gross belt clip repulses Tom and Donna, and that's actually a win for Ron. Like, less people in my life. So yeah, so he's pretty stoked about how things are shaping up for him. So yeah, that's probably the funniest part of this episode, is Ron's story, I think.
Yeah, I'd agree.
The other one is an important moving of the plot line forward for Leslie's recall situation, as she is trying to earn some points. And so the episode starts with Leslie trying to earn points by dissing on Eagleton. And so they have some jokes as they're doing this press conference for this high school basketball game. And it's important because they have a press conference. And I don't know any press conference that has ever happened before a high school basketball game. So this is another one of the things that pushes the credibility of the program. So Leslie is, they're going to have the classic thing when like the two rival schools cross state colleges, would do this like wager for who would win. And so Leslie is going to wager with Ingrid DeForest, who is a city councilor from Eagleton, played by what's her name? Kristen Bell. There it is.
Anna.
Hannah, yes. Kristen Bell is playing Ingrid DeForest, and Leslie is annoyed with her already because she won Miss Indiana beauty pageant last year while she was in office and pregnant. And so the wager from Pawnee's side is if you beat us, we'll give you this basket of apples from our Pawnee orchard. And Ingrid's like, "Ew, pesticide." And Leslie's like, "Nope, there isn't. It's pesticide free. I ate one for breakfast and I found a worm in it. So I bet you feel pretty stupid right now." And then Ingrid says, "Well, if I think we had the similar idea, because if you win, we'll give you this basket of oranges. Of course, it's silly to compare apples and oranges because these are Swarovski crystal and they're worth $700,000. So that's a pretty big deal." So then a reporter asks, like, "Hey, you're down 15 points in the latest poll for recall election. What can you do to make up the deficit?" And she then Leslie starts in on the jokes, making fun of Eagletonians. First is, "I'd pop a Xanax and ask my butler to help me out. I'm not saying that Eagletonians are out of touch, but you tell them it's time for change their oil, they ask extra virgin or white truffle, and everybody's dying. And this is the funniest thing in the world." And then she's like, "Thanks, guys. I'll see you at the game. Unless, of course, you're an Eagletonian, and then you'll be too busy polishing your monocle at the caviar store." Nope, out. Drop the mic, and she leaves. High fives Ben on the way. So this is a classic dig at rich people polishing monocles at caviar store.
Don't you have a Monopoly game to be in?
So cut to Ben and Leslie hanging out and coming to go see Chris, and Chris quickly throws something at Ben, and Ben is like, "Oh man, it's hello, Dr. Buttons." I mean, my old calculator. It doesn't have a name. And And so he's like, why did you throw this to me? And Chris is like, our old boss wants us to help sort out a budget problem in Eagleton. And so Chris is like, are you in? And Ben is like, Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid together again.
Oh my word.
And they do like the nerdiest handshake thing ever, which ends with them putting glasses on and going, So, because they're auditing bros, and Leslie wants to get in on this because she wants to be able to rub it in on Eagletonians, and so she's working on some more jokes too, a Jeff Foxworthy style thing. And so, Jeremy, could you do your best Jeff Foxworthy delivery of Leslie's joke?
Do you want me to be Jeff Foxworthy or Leslie Note being Jeff Foxworthy?
I want you to do your best effort of being Jeff Foxworthy.
I have not. Okay. All right. If you make an omelet out of Fabergé eggs, you just might be an Eagletonian.
An Eagletonian. Yes. Excellent. Good job. That was wonderful. I loved that. That was so good.
Thanks.
So
all my that's from growing up in Alaska.
Yeah. Yeah. I have you might be a redneck joke that I don't know how to get it to Jeff Foxworthy, so I'm going to just say it here.
Okay, he'll get it.
I think so. If you come out of the bathroom with a snack, you might be a redneck. Like, it's one thing to go into the bathroom with a sandwich. It's another thing to come out of the bathroom with that same sandwich. Anyway.
Same. Who said it's the same one?
Well, I'm hoping.
I think it's even worse if you didn't go in with a snack.
Oh my word. Well, yeah, I mean, that's a problem in itself, but I went to a conference and
the John Hamm. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
That's one of the best SNL sketches of all time. I went into a conference and it was full of men mainly because it was anyway. So the men's room was very busy and there was a wall of urinals. And I saw 4 men scrolling their phones while at the urinal.
My word.
I just knew at this point our country has major problems. You just give it a minute. Nothing crucial is going to happen while you are urinating. Anyway. But maybe I'm just not that cool.
Gotta check those fantasy scores, man.
Yeah. Well, it was a Tuesday, so the busy football day.
Conferences on a Tuesday?
Yeah.
Crazy.
I mean, church world's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
So they're meeting with Ingrid DeForest and different folks from Pawnee. And Leslie's really trying to
blonde. All of them. Did you notice that?
All of them. Yes. Yeah. They're very beautiful blonde people. And Leslie is like, it's a pleasure to see you. Say cheese. She's taking a picture of them just because she really wants to like savor the moment. And so Chris is like, can you give us a little bit of information surrounding the deficits you're running this year? And Ingrid's like, we don't really talk about money. We find that a little gauche. And Ben's like, well, this is a budget meeting. So we need to talk about money. And Ingrid's just like, well, it's all in those boxes if you want to look at how much money we've spent.
Which are like Louis Vuitton style, like trunks.
Yes. And it's not, I mean, it's really her whole thing is look at how much money we've spent because it's not a budget. It's not look at our plan. It's like, no, we have the receipts. We like spending money. And so Ingrid's like, you can go ahead and look at it. And we really appreciate your help. And then she tips Ben 100 euros, which at the time was a lot of money. Because the euro is stronger than the American dollar. And so as they're looking through, and Ingrid and her team, they all leave. Ben and Chris are looking through everything. And Ben is like, their debt to equity ratio is redonkulous. And Chris laughs because it reminds him of a ridiculous donkey. And so Leslie's like, what does this mean for them? And Ben's like, they're on the brink of a financial disaster. And Leslie's like, that's the sexiest thing you've ever said to me. And so she's like, oh, also, this is great for me because it can hand me the recall because I saved Pawnee from bankruptcy. Now I can try to I can remind people of that as we watch our worst enemy collapse into bankruptcy. So, and so Ben is like, are you kind of a little overboard here? And Leslie is just really high on this idea of watching them fail. So she's like, let's pretend this box is the basket of apples I gave them. I bet them on the game. And Ben's like, I see where you're going. That's like, ask me if I like apples. And have you seen Good Will Hunting, Jeremy?
I actually haven't.
What?
Yeah,
This
I
is
need to do a double feature
reference.
with. No, all I know, I've seen the reference, I've heard the reference. It's like between this and Avatar. Like I need to have like a double feature.
Oh, you never need to watch Avatar.
Yeah, that's what I felt.
I still haven't seen Avatar. I was gonna read the book
cool
first.
stuff, man.
And then there's a notebook for Avatar. Yeah. So
why papyrus?
So this whole thing with do you like apples? Ask me if I like apples. Do you like apples? How about them apples? That's all from Good Will Hunting. So,
oh yeah, yeah.
All right. So Ingrid and her team come back, and they were coming back from a bankruptcy brunch, and Michael Bublé played, and he ran a little long. Chris like, I love Michael Bublé.
Typical Bublé.
And Ben points out the important thing by asking, was a bankruptcy brunch the best idea? Like, let's not have brunch like animals? What? And so they're going over their items, and they filled the public pools with bottled water. Ingrid's like total body hydration. They purchased HBO for the whole town. And Ben's like, you spent government money on a TV subscription? And Ingrid just looked at him. It's not TV.
It's not.
So Leslie has put together a presentation for a financial recovery. And the first slide is, well. Cut back to the rest of it is, you blew it super hard, complete buffoonery. It's hilarious and you deserve it.
Each one a different slide.
Yeah. And Ben's like, you need to cool it a little bit. And Leslie is holding a grudge because Pawnee and Eagleton split over 200 years ago, and the Eagletonians took all the wealth with them. And so Pawnee was on their own. And so Leslie's going to skip ahead in the presentation. And Ingrid is just like, do you have any plans that can actually help us? Because we are borrowed everything we can do. And Leslie's plan is to give them a bridge loan for $50,000, which is nothing for a city budget. 25% interest compounded monthly. And you need to release a statement that says that Pawnee rules and Eagleton drools. So, yeah. So she's really helping here, Leslie. And Ingrid is hurt by this. She's like, you're just being nasty. We have a saying in Eagleton, you don't kick a dressage horse after it failed a pas de deux. Which, I mean, I've said that 100 times, right, Jeremy?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Always. I'm like, if there's one thing I know Jason for, it's his love of dressage.
Dressage, yeah. I love
dancing horses.
Dancing horses. And having failed many a pas de deux myself, I know. I mean, you definitely don't want to kick a horse.
No, I'm just glad you went to that camp to try to get over your pas de deux, nerves.
Yeah, well, thank you. It was hard, but I want to be a champion of dressage. So
you'll make it. You'll get there.
Next step is getting a horse. So,
yeah, all of that ghost horsing, that ghost dressaging. That's awkward.
Right. They're like, you can't enter this competition if you don't have a horse. And I said, did you tell Amelia Earhart she can't fly around the world if she doesn't? Anyway, she died. That's a bad example. So I stopped.
Yeah.
So anyway, so they Ingrid and her team, they all leave, and Chris then realizes that they have Michael Bublé on retainer. So he's just a paid employee, essentially, of Eagleton. So that's cool. So then Leslie comes into Ben and Chris's office with a shirt cannon and shoots a shirt at him, at Ben, is like, think fast. And he's like, why does everybody think I'm ready to catch things? And he unfolds the shirt and says, Eagleton, no money, mo problems. And Leslie is stoked about it because she's going to give them to everybody to wear at the game. And then this is when Leslie realizes that they are helping the Eagletonians right now. And Ben's like, we need to help. And so we're giving him a little financial advice. And Leslie feels completely betrayed here. And so Leslie's mad. And Ingrid just looks at her like, I just want to borrow your husband for an hour this evening, which is not great. Does not go over well. But yeah, so Ben is going to help because that's what good neighbors do, and Leslie is furious. So they're at the game. Everybody's wearing the no money, no problem shirt, except for Ben, and Leslie is upset because Eagleton wouldn't do this if they were in the same situation, and she points out with the game. They're 50 points ahead and they're still dunking. And then she says, look at this guy. There's no way he's in high school. And that's true because that's Eric Bosch, NBA player. Chris Bosch. Sorry, the name on my next line says Eric. Chris Bosch, NBA player. Oh. And he dunks on this kid and he's like, and I'm better at French horn too, Eric. So pretty great. But Ben is very practical. Like, people are going to lose their jobs. The recovery is going to take years. And deep down, I bet you feel bad for them. And Leslie's like, yeah, but everything that's happening right now, I just need to know that you're on my team, and seeing you helping them, I didn't feel like we were on the same team. And Ben's like, we're always on the same team. You never have to worry about that. And then they're watching the game, and an Eagletonian player falls, and 2 Pawnee players help him off the court. And Leslie says, I'm going to say something, and if I throw up on you after I say it, just know that you've been warned. I know how we can help Eagleton. So they have another press conference. And this time, Leslie is going to present the plan. And the situation is Eagleton will be dissolved and reabsorbed into Pawnee. And Pawnee will provide government services as well as taking on some of Eagleton's debts. And Leslie says, I hate Eagletonians as much as you do. I hate their stupid, beautiful faces and their stupid, shiny hair. And Chris cuts in, like, we looked at every alternative. This is the only thing that prevents Eagleton's financial crisis from spiraling throughout the region. And this is all true. Like, one town tanking is going to hurt everybody. So somebody has to step in and say, we're going to do something. And this turns into a Pawnee town hall, essentially. And Chance says, Eagleton is terrible. Why should I bail them out with the hard-earned money from my unemployment check?
Oh,
yeah, America. And Leslie points out, like, they sprained their ankle. We need to help them off the court. And
the guy who just said the unemployment check thing was like, oh, she got me there. Like, yeah, that analogy every time.
So then people start yelling, and Leslie's like, I need one at a time. And Mel, who yells at everything, is like, I hate the one at a time system. That was probably my favorite part of this whole episode.
That's a very funny joke.
One at a time system. Another person's like, you can't just merge 2 towns. It's against the rules of nature. What's next? Merging a man with his dog? And then the Eagletonian stands up. It's like, I live in Eagleton, and frankly, I don't like the idea because they're a little, what's the word? Have no money.
Bertram.
And yeah, Ingrid speaks up. It's like, look, we have no money. They're helping us out, and we need to be grateful for their generosity. They're a town of angels, greasy denim-clad angels, but angels nonetheless. And there's a mixture of responses there from the Pawnee side, like, well, and Leslie's like, we'll take it. It's a compliment. So the plan is moving forward, and Ingrid thanks Leslie. They're in her debt, and Leslie's like, well, it's something that we have to do. And Ingrid's like, well, on the bright side, we didn't win the basketball, so you owe some apples. And Leslie's like, oh, you don't want to eat those. They've all been recalled for G. coli. and she means like E. coli is like, I wish, way easier to treat. Welcome to Pawnee. G. coli.
Skipped right over F. coli.
Yeah. So, which is funny because earlier we were talking about Jack in the Box, which had the E. coli scare. And it all comes back around.
All back around. Time is a flat circle. What'd you think? What'd you think? What'd you think of Pawnee Eagleton Tip-Off Classic?
I really enjoy the Ron storyline in this one. I ask this in a careful way, knowing it probably wouldn't be that good, but I would really like a Ron series. Like just Ron. Ron in it up.
Yeah.
But I probably would hate it after a little while. So, yeah. But I like that one.
Yeah,
you need what?
No, I was just gonna say, yeah, you'd need a bunch of characters to kind of water down the Ronness. But yeah,
right.
I think Ron. Well, and they tried to do that later. I mean, we can talk about that later. And I would have watched it because that was a good. You know what I'm talking about? The spinoff that they were planning on doing. Later on, Ron gets the job. Did you just want to say it? I don't want to spoil it.
The director of the national park.
Yeah, so the idea was with that crew of people, like the Rangers, that was supposed to be a spinoff.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
I did not know that.
Yeah, it never took off.
Well, that's probably best.
Yeah, kind of like The Office and Dwight's farm, Schrute Farms.
Yeah, that would have been really something, because just the Schrute family had a wide range of people. So it wasn't necessarily about Dwight. It was about his family.
Right. And they set it up. I mean, they brought in Thomas Middleditch, and I'm trying to remember who his sister was. Anyway, yeah.
But we can't have nice things.
No.
So what did you think about this episode there, Jeremy?
Yeah, it was good. Like you said, it felt like just a bridge episode again. I mean, there was a couple funny jokes in it, but I feel like the whole Eagleton thing, I mean, for as much as Pawnee hates Eagleton, they fight so many things in Eagleton. To just accept to take them and their debt on seemed like a pretty quick turnaround, but it does set up a little bit of an arc for the next several episodes, which is fine. So
yes.
Yeah.
And a pending betrayal.
Yeah.
Dun, dun.
And it kind of set up something later with the whole Grizzle thing and Ron, which fits his personality based on this too, with the drone, and it's great. Yeah.
Yes.
So
yeah. So there's some good things happening. Not the funniest episode, but still some good things. Any trivia that you found on the IMDb?
Not so much. I mean, Doppelgangers is the next one, which I think is pretty funny because we get introduced to some pretty funny characters. Tinnifer.
Craig. I love Craig.
Craig's great. I'm going to take a nap for a half an hour. No, 45 minutes.
Donna, your name's perfect. My name's Craig. Craig. I love that. All right. Well, okay. Yeah. So next up, we have the Doppelgangers. Ron and Ron. So good. My name's Ron Dunn. Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's going to be so good. Yeah. So good. All right. Well, Jeremy, we should probably wrap it up here and let our listener get back to whatever they were doing.
Okay. I'm going to play you out with some Tori Amos.
Excuse me, but can I be for I
this is silent all those years.
I don't like this.
Well, till next week, my friend.
Antichrist in the kitchen.
Antichrist. All right, that's perfect.
Bye.
All right. Bye.